Good morning. Today we will continue with the Sustainable Development Goals. Number 10 is reduce inequalities. It aims at reducing inequality within and among countries. This SDG calls for reducing inequalities in income as well as those based on age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status within a country. Income inequality is on the rise. The richest 10% have up to 40% of global income, whereas the poorest 10% earn only between 2 to 7%. If we consider population growth inequality in developing countries, inequality has increased by 11%. The following are the targets of SDG number 10. By 2030, progressively achieve and sustain income growth of the bottom 40% of the population at a rate higher than the national average. Empower and promote the social, economic, and political inclusion of all, irrespective of age, sex, disability, race, ethnicity, origin, religion, or economic or other status. Ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities of outcome, including by eliminating discriminatory laws, policies, and practices. Adopt policies, especially fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, and progressively achieve great inequality. Improve the regulation and monitoring of global financial markets and institutions and strengthen the implementation of such regulations. Another is ensure enhanced representation and voice for developing countries in decision-making in global international economic and financial institutions in order to deliver more effective, credible, accountable, and legitimate institutions. Another target is facilitate orderly, safe, regular, and responsible migration and mobility of people, including through the implementation of planned and well-managed migration policies. Encourage official development assistance and financial flows, including foreign direct investment, to states where the need is greatest, in particular least developed countries, African countries, small island developing states, and landlocked developing countries in accordance with their national plans and programs. Another target is reduce to less than 3% the transaction cost of migrant remittances and eliminate remittance corridors with costs higher than 5%. Means of implementation. Number 1 is ensure equal opportunity and reduce inequalities of outcome, including by eliminating discriminatory laws, policies, and practices, and promoting appropriate legislation, policies, and action in this regard. Adopt policies, especially fiscal, wage, and social protection policies, and progressively achieve greater equality. The following are the list of key government programs, activities, or projects contributing to goal number 10. First is the mandatory PhilHealth coverage for all senior citizens. RA number 10645 or an act providing for the mandatory PhilHealth coverage for all senior citizens was approved in 2014. The law states that all senior citizens shall be covered by the National Health Insurance Program of PhilHealth. Funds necessary to ensure the enrollment of all senior citizens not currently covered by any existing category shall be sourced from the National Health Insurance Fund or PhilHealth from proceeds of Republic Act No. 10351 or the Sin Tax Law. The Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education. The Universal Access to Quality Tertiary Education Act, RA 10931, which was signed into law last August 2017, provides for free tuition and other school fees in state universities and colleges, local universities and colleges, and state-run technical vocational institutions, establishing the tertiary education subsidy and student loan program, and strengthens the unified student financial assistance system for tertiary education. Another one is the social pension program for indigent senior citizens. It is the additional government assistance program of the DSWD, which provides a monthly stipend of 5,000 to augment the daily subsistence and other medical needs of indigent senior citizens. The program seeks to improve the condition of indigent senior citizens by augmenting their daily subsistence and medical needs, reduce incidence of hunger, and protect them from neglect, abuse, deprivation, and natural and man-made disasters. Now we have sustainable cities and communities, which is the SDG number 11. Making cities sustainable means creating career and business opportunities, safe and affordable housing, and building resilient societies and economies. It involves investment in public transport, creating green public spaces, and improving urban planning and management in participatory and inclusive ways. Targets: by 2030, ensure access for all to adequate, safe, and affordable housing and basic services and upgrade slums. Mm. Provides access to safe, affordable, accessible, and sustainable transport system for all. Improve road safety, notably by expanding public transport with special attention to the needs of those in vulnerable situations, women, children, persons with disabilities, and older persons. Enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization and capacity for participatory, integrated, and sustainable human settlement, planning, and management in all countries. Strengthen efforts to protect and safeguard the world's cultural and natural heritage. Significantly reduce the number of deaths and the number of people affected, and substantially decrease the direct economic losses relative to global gross domestic product caused by disasters, including water-related disasters, with a focus on protecting the poor and people in vulnerable situations. Reduce the adverse per capita environmental impact of cities, including by paying special attention to air quality and municipal and other waste management. Provide universal access to safe, inclusive and accessible, green and public spaces, in particular for women and children, older persons, and persons with disabilities. For the means of implementation, identifying and agreeing the most sustainable ways to achieve the targets, what activities should be ceased and which ones accelerated. Develop participatory platforms so all voices can be heard. This action is extremely important to understand what residents need. Now we have the list of key government programs, activities, or projects contributing to goal number 11. Making Cities Resilience 2020. For the implementing agency, we have the Department of National Defense, Office of Civil Defense. Target beneficiaries, LGUs of the cities and municipalities who are interested to build urban resilience through the benefit of sharing experiences from its vast network. For the key accomplishment, the press sign-up clinic and ceremonial launch of the MCR 2030 in the Philippines was hosted by the OCD last 26 and 29 October 2021, with the objective of committing or renewing new commitments to the MCR. A total of 65 cities municipalities expressed or renewed their interest to join MCR 2030. Another is the implementation of toxic substances and hazardous waste management. Pursuant to RA 6969, Toxic Substances and Hazardous and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990, this program of the DENR EMB covers the sound and proper management of industrial chemicals and hazardous waste in all aspects of its life cycle, from importation, manufacture, distribution, transportation, use, and disposal. This program will contribute to Target 12.4 to achieve the environmentally sound management of chemicals and all wastes throughout their life cycle, in accordance with agreed international frameworks, and significantly reduce their release to air, water, and soil in order to minimize their adverse impacts on human health and the environment. Another is the assistance to LGUs in the completion of the comprehensive land use plans. To ensure rational land use and sustainable urban and regional development, Executive Order No. 72 provides for the preparation and implementation of the comprehensive land use plans of LGUs pursuant to the Local Government Code of 1991. It determines the specific uses of land and other physical and natural resources, both private and public, within their territorial jurisdiction, including areas co-managed with the national government, and as appropriate management plans for ancestral domains, critical watersheds, river basins, and protected areas. The Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board provides technical assistance to LGUs, highly urbanized cities, independent component cities, in the formulation, updating of their CLUPs, and also reviews and approves provincial physical framework plans. As of 2017, out of the 1,634 LGUs, 1,569 or 96% already have approved CLUPs. We proceed to SDG number 12, which is the responsible consumption and production. Achieving economic growth and sustainable development requires that we urgently reduce our ecological footprint by changing the way we produce and consume goods and resources. Agriculture is the biggest user of water worldwide, and irrigation now claims close to 70% of all fresh water for human use. Target: by 2030, achieve the sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. Have per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels and reduce food losses along production and supply chains, including post-harvest losses. Substantially reduce waste generation through prevention, reduction, recycling, and reuse. Ensure that people everywhere have the relevant information and awareness for sustainable development and lifestyles in harmony with nature. For the means of implementation, encourage companies, especially large and transnational companies, to adopt sustainable practices and to integrate sustainability information into the reporting cycle. Promote public procurement practices that are sustainable in accordance with national policies and priorities. Support developing countries to strengthen their scientific and technological capacity to move towards more sustainable patterns of consumption and production. Develop and implement tools to monitor sustainable development impacts for sustainable tourism that creates jobs and promotes local culture and products. Rationalize inefficient fossil fuel subsidies that encourage wasteful consumption by removing market distortions in accordance with national circumstances, including by restructuring taxation and phasing out those harmful subsidies where they exist to reflect their environmental impacts, taking fully into account the specific needs and conditions of developing countries and minimizing the possible adverse impacts on their development in a manner that protects the poor and the affected communities. List of key government programs, activities, or projects contributing to goal number 12. Philippine Action Plan for Sustainable Consumption and Production. The Philippine Action Plan for SCP will serve as a guiding framework to influence and steer sustainable behavior and practices across sectors and levels of government by implementing programmatic policy reforms and set of actions over the short, medium, and long term. This will facilitate and contribute in achieving the country's Ambition Natin 2040, such that policies and activities laid down will ensure that Filipinos, both the present and the future generation, enjoy a matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na buhay. This will be realized when more Filipinos consume and produce green goods and services and shift towards sustainable and climate-smart practices and lifestyles. Another is the establishment of LAMCICPMS facility. Establishment of LAMCICPMS facility in support of strengthening the marine protected area system to conserve marine key biodiversity areas in the Philippines project sites of the DENR. The Smart Seas PH project implemented by DENR BMB was developed to accelerate the establishment of marine protected areas and network to produce and arrest the rapid degradation of marine and coastal habitats. Currently, Smart Seas PH has 5 project sites: Batangas Mindoro, Palawan, Tacson Strait, Surigao, Siargao, and Davao Gulf. One of the objectives of Smart Seas PH is to reduce pollution level against baseline levels in these sites. Next is the Clean Energy Alert. This program of the DOST National Research Council of the Philippines aims to investigate alternative energy sources in the Philippines. The challenge is clear and daunting. As our country continues to modernize and industrialize, its energy needs are expected to double over the next 20 years. The challenge is to meet these needs while trying to stem accelerating greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. Thus, researches on cleaner energy sources is very important. Above all, this program will lay out how renewable energy can save the government money, bring jobs to the country, create wealth, expand access to energy for the most vulnerable in poor communities, and foster national energy independence. The general objective of this program is to investigate and explore alternative energy sources in the Philippines that can be used to address rising demands for energy consumption. Explorations in this field lead to further advances in life, physical sciences, engineering, and in other fields. Researches under this program will provide foundation for scientific discovery and progress that lead to industrial development, bring jobs to the country, create wealth, expand access to energy for the most vulnerable in poor communities, and foster national energy interdependence. And the last one is the climate action. Climate change is a real and undeniable threat to our entire civilization. The effects are already visible and will be catastrophic unless we act now. Through education, innovation, and adherence to our climate commitments, we can make the necessary changes to protect the planet. These changes also provide huge opportunities to modernize our infrastructure, which will create new jobs and promote greater prosperity across the globe. The following are the targets of SDG number 13. By 2030, strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters in all countries. Integrate climate change measures into national policies, strategies, and planning. Improve education awareness, raising and human and institutional capacity on climate change, mitigation, adaptation, impact reduction, and early warning. Implement the commitment undertaken by developed country parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change to a goal of mobilizing jointly $100 billion annually by 2020 from all sources to address the needs of developing countries in the next of meaningful mitigation actions and transparency on implementation and fully operationalize the Green Climate Fund through its capitalization as soon as possible. Promote mechanisms for raising capacity for effective climate change-related planning and management in least developed countries and small island developing states, including focusing on women, youth, and local marginalized communities. Means of implementation: strengthen resilience and adaptive capacity to climate-related hazards and natural disasters in all countries. We now have the list of key government programs and activities or projects contributing to goal number 13. First is the Making Cities Resilient 2030. The implementing agency is the Department of National Defense, Office of Civil Defense. Target beneficiaries, LGUs, cities, municipalities who are interested to build urban resilience through the benefit of sharing experiences from its vast network. For the key accomplishment, the pre-sign-up clinic and ceremonial launch of the MCR 2030 in the Philippines was hosted by the OCD last 26 and 29 of October 2021 with the objective of committing or renewing new commitments to the MCR. A total of 65 cities, municipalities expressed or renewed their interest to join MCR 2030. Survival and Recovery Assistance Program. The Survival and Recovery Assistance Program of DA Agricultural Credit Policy Council aims to support the government's goal of helping agricultural households in calamity-affected areas regain their capacity to earn a living and provide immediate relief to small farmers and fisher folk through loan and grant assistance. DA Sure Loan Program will restore the normalcy in the livelihood of farmers and fishermen by helping lessen the burden of being left on their own and recover from their losses. The project will help build resilience of the poor and those in vulnerable situations by reducing vulnerability to disasters and the economic shock that comes with it. Next is weather research and forecasting. Providing high-resolution climate change projections in the Philippines using a weather research and forecasting model. This project by the DOST Pag-asa aims to provide a high-resolution climate change projection using the WRF model covering the entire Philippines using the RCP 4.5 and RCP 8.5 climate change scenarios for both precipitation and temperature. The outputs from the system are expected to contribute to the updating of the LGUs CCDRR Enhanced Local Plans. This project is expected to contribute in strengthening the resilience and adaptive capacity of communities and ecosystems to climate-related hazards and natural disasters by providing timely and accurate disaster and climate information that will support risk-informed planning, particularly at the local level. And that's all for my report. Thank you.